just saying, when all this is over, I think you should just go out and get a proper job, earn some money, because, you know, when you move out, I don't want you living on the bread line. I'm not even sorry. Here's some wrestling news. Matt Riddle comments on Backstage heat and buries the Goldberg versus Braun Strowman match from Wrestlemania. A former NXT star gives their thoughts on their controversial exit from the company, and has the first appearance of the SmackDown hacker been revealed? Find out in a bit. In the news today, talking a bit about some of the backstage heat that he is reported to have had. We've talked about Riddle in the news a couple of times for this very reason. Talk about disagreements between him and Goldberg. One of those very awkwardly captured on WWE television. But he was speaking to Sportskeeda about some of this backstage heat he reportedly has, and Matt Riddle says the following: "Do I have heat with WWE or NXT or the people that run the show? No. Do I have heat with some people who think I'm disrespectful at times because they don't understand how the business works? Yes. Do people take things too seriously? Yes. I'm a tag champ. I was in the Rumble, so how does this guy have so much nuclear heat? I was in Vince McMahon's office just 3 weeks ago before this pandemic broke out. We mentioned the heat that I have off certain people, but at the end of the day, he signs the checks, he makes it happen for me, and he's in control, not the talent." So to answer your question, yes, to some people I have heat with. There are some people I have heat with, rather. But most of it is just high school and catty, he said this type stuff. People who just can't take a joke or a work. He then talks about the Goldberg-Braun Strowman match from WrestleMania. So anytime Matt Riddle decides to chat about Bill Goldberg, strap yourselves in. It's going to be a fun ride. He says, "I don't think it was a poor move bringing him in for a match, but to bring him back to win the title and to destroy a character like The Fiend being so unstoppable and then just have Braun Strowman beat him, you know, it doesn't really do much for Braun Strowman beating him. It's not like it was a passing of the torch or a great match. It was a couple of spears and a power slam." Matt Riddle in this interview does make it clear that he's not like trying to cause any issue with them. He's not trying to knock Strowman or anyone for their work, but he says at the same time they need to realise kind of how hard people work to get to positions that they are in. He says, "As a fan like yourself and myself, we all agree, and every fan that watched that, even if they wanted Braun to win or whatever, was disappointed. Even if you wanted Goldberg to win, you probably didn't want him to win like that. It's one of those things. You know me, I think it was a bad call, but I don't make those calls. I can only give my input, my insight and my opinions, and that's all I have." I think a lot of people were left with a bad taste in their mouth after the Braun Strowman Goldberg match at WrestleMania, but then he was kind of a victim of circumstances. A lot of things that conspired against that, and that was kind of, they just kind of had to get something done and move on. Regardless, it was very much a what type moment during, it was almost a WTF moment during WrestleMania, and it was nice of Matt Riddle to address it. I'm sure Goldberg will be delighted when he sits down with his coffee and, I don't know, maybe a pack of cheese strings to watch this video. Going to take you back to last year. The wrestler formerly known as Jordan Miles, ACH, was very much in the news. WWE released a t-shirt design that ACH took great exception to, and it led to a very explosive fallout between ACH and WWE. And it's been a while since we've heard from ACH. He's had a couple of belter matches on the indie circuit in the interim, but he's sort of staved off from doing a lot of talking. But he was on Submission Squad, the show recently, and he talked about all the drama from last year. So I'm going to quote a little bit of ACH on this one. He says, "I was having the time of my life in WWE, but when they released that shirt, I got angry. I made a lot of comments that I'm not going to take back because that's just how I feel. Now, could I have said them a lot better? Absolutely. I said a lot of things out of anger. I would have said those things a little bit more intelligently and calmly and came from a real place and not an angry place. I think it would have been okay. I wish I would have just turned my phone off and kind of let things die down. I don't come up with excuses for myself. I was angry. I'm not going to go out there and be like, sorry guys, mental health issues. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I'm ashamed of myself. I'm embarrassed. I know I'm embarrassed a lot of people. Most importantly, I embarrass myself too. I'm just not used to this type of negativity. Felt like I needed to get a lot of stuff off my chest, and social media is not the place to do it. He ends his interview by saying that all of this, from all the blow up from last year, will either be the makings of a cool comeback or a really bad ending, and he's not sure which it is yet. I am genuinely hoping for a guy as talented as ACH that it leads to the coolest of cool comebacks. So it all kicked off last night between WWE Hall of Famer Scott Hall and Ring of Honor's Session Moth Martina. I hope you, like me, follow the Session Moth on Twitter. She is an absolute joy to behold. Somebody tweeted out a picture of Razor Ramon last night with the caption, "What comes to mind when you think of this man?" Session Moth quote retweeted it saying, "He once offered to buy me a boob job on Twitter, but never followed through." Okay. This was seen by Scott Hall, who tweeted back in response, "You need a personality transplant, you dumb female dog." Oof. It was maybe it was a bad night for Scott. Maybe Scott didn't need to see that. Yeah, that was a bit fiery, but let's be honest, this probably all stems from the fact that Scott Hall, like all of us, fancy Martina. Do you want to see Jon Moxley doing an acting? Well, you can from next week. His movie, Cage Fighter Worlds Collide, lands on Fight on the 16th of May, in which Moxley plays a pro wrestling superstar turned MMA fighter, which isn't a million miles away from his range. Chuck Liddell, Luke Rockhold and Christian are all in the movie as well. And also after this is really cool, after the movie finishes on Fight, there's going to be a round table discussion about the film. I like round table discussions at the moment, especially the Zoom round table discussions where everyone's got weird backgrounds. If you are looking for a wrestling movie to watch, or something in that realms, I can't recommend Cage Fighter Worlds Collide enough. It should be good fun. The main event, which is WWE's movie, is now on Netflix, and if you're looking for something to do, if you want to watch it in a very different way, Ross Tweddle and myself on the Cultaholic podcast feed right now have done an alternative commentary to the main event. It features our boy Keith Lee, and you don't forget about Keith. Exactly. It's on the podcast feed right now, along with loads of other good stuff. So if you want to listen to Ross and I watching the main event with you, you can do that. An update now on a recently released WWE Tag Team. You know where I'm going with this. Hi, we're the Shining Stars. Come to our island. The Revival. Formerly known as The Revival, obviously, Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood have been in a bit of a trademark war with WWE. We have an update on that from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful. So they applied for 5 trademarks to use. They wanted to use Say Yeah, No Flips, Just Fists, FTRKO, Top Guys and Shatter Machine. Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful updates us on this, saying Fightful Select reported Friday that WWE are planned on extending Dax Harwood's contract from April until possibly the end of the summer, while Cash Wheeler would run his out until June. Instead, WWE and the team went back and forth for weeks negotiating a release. Ultimately, to get the release in April, Wheeler and Harwood had to agree to turn over the trademarks. Fightful learned that the former Revival had actually spent thousands of dollars acquiring the trademarks themselves, but WWE wanted them in order to prevent them from using them outside of the company. So as it stands right now, WWE has filed an opposition to Harwood and Wheeler using the trademarks that they want to use on the indie scene, and there's a very strong chance that if they file an opposition, knowing the circumstances in which they signed, they may end up getting them back. So they may need to go back to the drawing board on a lot of other things, which would be a shame. Bobby Lashley, but not Bobby Leasley. An update on the hacker. Nothing to do with rugby. The SmackDown hacker, we don't know who, but I think we have a when. The internet is a very clever place when it's not sharing cat pictures and telling me I should lose my job. The internet has actually cracked probably the place where we will see the SmackDown hacker make their debut, whoever they might be. So here's how we know from the video on Friday. If you watch that SmackDown on Friday, if you watch that hacker video, you'll see him punching in the code 051020 to unlock his phone. Or was he dialing? Can't remember. But he punches in 051020. That's the date of Money in the Bank. Then, when they show the map and they're scanning around, you see some coordinates at the bottom of the screen. Those coordinates take you to the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. So I think, not in the actual Money in the Bank match itself, not that schmoz at WWE HQ, but in one of the matches around the Money in the Bank pay-per-view at the Performance Center, we may very well see the hacker make their debut, if this is anything to go by. Or it could just be one colossal red herring. And as we all know, a red herring only tastes better with chips. Stay safe, love you, bye.